So if you've ever wanted to create 3D animated characters from video files, or probably you've been thinking about how you can create poses from images you've captured or downloaded, then today we have a very interesting tool that I think you would definitely want to consider looking at, and this is called Meshcapade. Meshcapade is a pretty new tool which is heavily based on a lot of research. So the idea behind this tool is for the computer to do the heavy lifting of creating your avatars while you take all the time you need in focusing on your art. And art can simply range from things like games, animation, graphic designs, and the whole metaverse thing. And the way this is built is super interesting. There's just a whole lot of things that this actually offers, and some of them clicks, some don't, and today we're going to take a look at all of them. So just in case you're thinking about creating avatars from images, you probably want to do some measurements, probably you want to create avatars from scans, maybe you do have video files and you like to generate avatars from those video files and get them fully rigged and fully ready to be used in any DCC app of choice. This is also something that is available. And by the way, this video isn't sponsored by any way. This is just a tool I found on the internet which looks super cool, and I just feel like it is something I should share with you guys. So for those who would like to see these in action, you can simply go over to meshcapade.com. I'm going to put a link in the description just in case you'd like to check it out. And for you to get started, all you need to do is create an account and go over to the platform section right here where you have the Meshcapade Me. And once you open up Meshcapade Me, this loads up a whole new workspace. Now within this workspace, there's a couple of interesting things that you can do. First off, we do have an avatar which we can play with, and to navigate this viewport is super easy, as if you press down the left mouse button you can orbit around it, the middle mouse button you can roll in and roll out, and with the right mouse button you can pan. Super simple. And some of the cool things that you get with this tool includes the fact that you can change the measurement of any character. Say for example, you like to create a character, probably you want the character's height to be about that much. You can make those changes. You can also make changes to the chest, depending on what you want. You can also make changes to the waist as well, depending on what you want, and you know, the hip and all that stuff. There's also sections where you can switch if you like this to be a male character, a non-binary, and a female character. So I'm just going to set this to male for the sake of this video, and we can simply go over to experimental. The experimental stuff currently bugs out from time to time. And I did find out that for the experimental, this makes more sense if you're trying to create caricature, or maybe you're trying to make stylized characters. That is where I noticed that the experimental stuff works. Other than that, this would simply give you an error message saying that the results might be inaccurate, since this measurement are sort of targeted towards real life avatars. So I'm just simply going to reset all of that, and we can go ahead and check out some other parts of this tool. So one other thing which I think a lot of you guys may want to play with is right here that deals with the poses. So within the pose, we do have animation, basic pose, hand pose, and my motions. So what happens here is you can simply pose this character in any of these default ways that you want. You can also pose the hands depending on what you want for the hands. Let's set this to A pose. You can curl the hands if you want, you can fist them, you can make them super flat, and you can relax them. Pretty standard. All the way up here, before we talk about this one, all the way up here, we have something that is super interesting. So this is more like one of the additions that they've done to this tool. Like I mentioned earlier, this tool, which is the Meshcapade, is heavily based on research. And this research is in relation to pose approximation alongside a few automated and artificial intelligence that feeds off a huge data set. So in this case, we do have motions. So by default, you do have motions, different kind of motions that you would want. Now, if you like to generate any motion, you can simply say a person is doing something. So we do have a couple of these ones right here. So I can simply select a person is cartwheeling, and if I simply click, you'd notice that we have this person cartwheeling, which is super solid. We can also go ahead and, you know, select something. Say for example, a person is jumping. This seems super cool. So we can say a person is jumping, press the enter key, and this is going to go through the whole library, sort of create variations. Just like in pretty standard generative stuff, you do have 4 options. You can play with these 4 options and select which one best suit the situation you're trying to create. So we do have that one. We can also go ahead and say something, maybe a person is crouching, maybe that sounds good. So we can say a person is crouching, and this is also going to generate some very interesting results. So we can, you know, pick any of these results and work with them. So we've also got this other one, a person is crouching, and it does a very basic crouch. We have this that looks more like a sitting crouch, and we've also got this one that is more like a very traditional crouching. So you can make changes. You can say a person is falling down, a person is rolling, different kinds of things. You do have options of creating them. Now, where things starts getting very interesting is when you want to make multiple actions get strong to be one action. And what I mean by that is this. You could literally say a person is typing and it's something, but when you say things like a person is typing on a computer and you hit the enter key, this is where things starts getting pretty interesting. It would create some things that sort of feels like the person is being prepared to get into that pose, but then it sort of bugs out from there. So there are certain motions that these cannot necessarily handle, and there are certain motions that this handles super fine. So motions that just requires the character doing that, it can handle it. But motions that might require the character mixing with something else, that might become a huge problem. But for the motions that it actually does, it kind of does it pretty well. Like in a situation like this where we have this, you can see that we have the hand and the finger gestures working exactly how you kind of want them to. And so from here, you can generate as many motions as you want, and you can go ahead, go into your DCC app and string these motions however you choose. Now with this said, there is something that is super nice that deals with my motions. And this is where some of the interesting things that happens with this tool starts kicking in. So by default, we do have an editor, we have a vault, we have photos, scan, and video. And all three of these are ways of creating poses and also motions. So for example, if you go over to the video section and you like to create a video motion of any of these ones that we have here, you can. So all you need to do is to simply click on them. For example, I can say use sample, and because we have the sample totally for free, we can create the avatar for free. And so once I click on that button, this is going to take a look at the image and generate an avatar that is doing that beautiful squat. And if we go over to the vault section and I scroll all the way to this part and click, you would notice that we have this character or this avatar doing that squat, and that is super nice. Now there's a few things that I would like to also point out, and this deals with the fact that to any file you're trying to replicate a 3D version of, I would suggest that most part of the main subjects are visible, because if they are not, there are chances that these may not create proper representation. And to actually show you this is with the images that we sort of generated. So by default, if you go over to the photo section or you like to create your avatars from photo, you can. With the samples, because the body parts of the subject are fully visible, we do have very good image representation. And then if we choose to load in various images, which have more like complicated movements, some parts get occluded, you would notice that these tries as much as possible to create the poses, but the poses are not exactly how we would like them to be. And this is just because of the mere fact that it's either the position of the legs, the positions of the hand are either occluded, wrongly pointed towards the camera in terms of how this tool kind of understands it. And if you simply place this side by side with the main image and the reference, you can notice that this tries as much as possible, but then it doesn't really get it exactly like so. But that is not the same case with the elegant Dark Orchard Valley, because right here we do have this image looking more like a silhouette, and the representation of both the feet, the hands seems to be more accurate than what we had with the previous ones. So with this, all I'm saying is if you're thinking about creating poses based off the images that you have from the internet or from your own captured images, you should consider the fact that the subject is clearly visible in terms of body parts. It's also worth mentioning that if you're thinking about using these to generate video files, you can. And I would suggest as well that the first few frames of the video files needs to be more readable, and that way this is going to generate a very useful file for you. So at this point, you can generate as many files as you want, just like we did with this one, and you can use them in any DCC app of choice. And of course, if you like to make modifications to this, you can open in editor, and from here you can start making some modifications. Say for example, we'd like to make this character slightly taller, maybe we'd like to increase the hip a little bit, or maybe just tighten the hip a little bit. We can simply go ahead and do all of that. Another thing which is super interesting is right here where we have the texture. So from the texture, you can change the character texture how you choose. Say for example, you like the character to dress in a kind of way, you can. So you can do all of that. And if you're comfortable with what you've got, you can go ahead and export this. And exporting this is super simple. So right now that we have all these changes done, we can click on the save button, and I'm going to save this as O2. So we can save, click on create avatar, and this is going to take 100 diamond points. And something else to keep in mind is when you're creating a pose from an image, or maybe you're creating an animation from a video file, this takes a given number of points. And that is exactly the same thing that happens with creating a new avatar. So now that we have this, we can click on create avatar, and this is going to take that number of diamond points, and once that takes it, we can click on download. And about the point, these points comes once you have a free account, and every free account comes with 2,000 points, which is quite a lot of points to play with. So once you have this ready, you can now go ahead and hit the download button, and this would ask if you like to download this as FBX or OBJ. We already know that FBX seems to be the gold standard at this point, and we're going to select FBX, select if you like this to come in Unreal Engine with no blends, or if you like this to come to Unreal Engine with blends. In this case, I'm just going to select none, because we just want the FBX, and I'm going to click on download avatar. Now with that, we're going to simplify our Blender, and we're going to load this file in. And with our file here, if we simply go ahead and press the spacebar, you now notice we've got our animation happening. So from here, you can start doing whatever you want. So at this point, this just simply loads up, and we can go ahead and do some more stuff. I'm going to throw in a simple grid, and just to beautify the scene, and of course we can use some geometry nodes to sort of drive things around this model if we so choose. And with this, you can go from a simple video to a motion capture file which is being baked into a fully rigged avatar, and you can bring it into any DCC app of choice and start making interesting edits. It's also worth mentioning that this tool doesn't necessarily have a lot of things, and the whole idea about how you can use this to generate motions reminds me so much about Motorica. Now, we've already talked about the cool tool that the folks at Motorica are making, and this is just brilliant. The fact that you can simply type in a prompt and you can control how these characters actually behave is super impressive. And this ties us back to the fact that Meshcapade is leveraging of some of this technology that they have built themselves and researched over time, as this research is fully grounded in some beautiful things. And of course, if you'd like to see more of that research, you can go over to the technology page where you can read up on some of the technology that they've put in place. They do have a good number of things that speaks volumes and also shows the work they've put in creating this. And of course, if you're into creating stuff like this or probably want to see more about their research, you can go over to the assets and read up on their database and also some other things that they have to offer. And finally, for those who are thinking about the licensing, you can simply go over to the About section and read up on the legal licensing terms and conditions. So if you simply go over to the terms and conditions, this has a very interesting terms and condition which doesn't necessarily restrict you from a lot of things, but then it is worth reading, and I would suggest that you go through and check this out for yourself. So this is it. For those who are thinking about playing with this, or probably you like to explore it, then you can simply go over to the link in the description and check this out. And of course, if you like to test out Motorica, which is the tool we just talked about on the channel, or probably you like to create your own custom avatars exactly how you would like them to be, then you can go over to the folks at Revolution and check out Character Creator 4 and see all of the cool things that you can now do with it. Tell me what you guys think about these ones in the comment section, and of course, if you like this video or you like something from this, you can go ahead and give a like, and don't forget to share with a friend. And until I see you guys in the next one, peace.